All right, Dopey. It says right here that you talk in our new movie. See? You got all the best lines.
You're gonna wish these Disney movies didn't get canceled. Ready to hear about the ones that got away? Let's go. Number 1. We almost got a Disney-made Where the Wild Things Are. In fact, in 1983, John Lasseter directed a 30-second film test of the Maurice Sendak classic. In 2001, Universal got the rights to the story, but you can still see some of the screen tests today. Number 2. If you wish you were off to see The Wizard again, The Rainbow Road to Oz almost gave us that chance. You may remember when Disney's Oz the Great and Powerful came out in 2013. But did you know that the movie had been in the works since the 30s? Before Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs premiered, Walt Disney was looking to adapt several popular children's books for the big screen. He made this happen with a few, like Peter Pan and Alice in Wonderland, but when it came to The Wizard of Oz, he couldn't make it work. His instincts that it would make a popular movie were, of course, correct. In 1937, MGM bought the rights to the story, but Disney was eventually able to buy the rights to some of the other books in the Oz series. A live-action movie, The Rainbow Road to Oz, was in the works starring Annette Funicello. A preview for The Rainbow Road to Oz was even shown on television, but the movie never actually came to fruition. Why? No one really knows, but it's believed that at the time Walt Disney was a bit preoccupied with a few little side projects.
Suffering cats, I've got just time enough to do the trailer for next week's show.
AKA Sleeping Beauty and Disneyland. Number 3. Newt is the only canceled movie Pixar has ever had, and seeing how popular Pixar's projects are, it definitely piques our interest about Newt. Newt was set to premiere in 2012, and according to Disney, it was about the last remaining male and female blue-footed newts on the planet, Newt and Brooke. Pete Docter, the director of Up, was approached for the project, and he agreed but apparently said that he actually had an even better idea. The idea in question? A little something called Inside Out. So he was right, he did have a pretty good idea. Still, we're not sure that was a good reason to scrap Newt altogether. Number 4. Yes, we know the Gremlins movie already exists, but the Disney version was going to be very different. Instead, this version was going to be based on the Roald Dahl book, The Gremlins. There were multiple screenplays written for this movie in the early 1940s. In the end, the idea was abandoned. But if you love the idea of the OG Gremlins movie, there are original copies of a promotional book that was made for the movie out there. Number 5. We all know Swan Lake, but most of us don't know that it was almost a Disney movie. In 1992, Jeffrey Katzenberg announced several movies that would be developed for Disney: Sinbad the Sailor, Homer's Odyssey, and Pocahontas. When they couldn't come to an agreement with former Disney animator director Richard Rich, he went and made the Swan Princess with his own animation studio. Number 6. We all live in a yellow submarine. Yes, we're talking about the Disney version. The Robert Zemeckis remake of the animated film didn't end up happening, but we have to say the idea of the Beatles classic being made into a Disney movie does sound pretty cool. Number 7. The Seven Dwarfs. You know them, you love them, and they almost got their own movie. The Seven Dwarfs was actually a prequel from Disney Toon Studios that would have explained how the Seven Dwarfs met each other. In 2006, however, the project was canceled by John Lasseter. Number 8. The Three Little Pigs is a popular retelling of the classic fairy tale The Three Pigs by David Weisner. In 2002, Disney Feature Animation optioned the children's book. The following year, Disney announced that the movie was said to be a combination of computer and traditional animation. Why the movie was ultimately canceled is unclear. Number 9. Don Quixote was almost made into a Disney movie. Many times. In 1940, the classic story was nearly made into a Fantasia-like movie. It was put on pause until 1946, at which point it was considered as a short film that would be part of something bigger. Then it was put on pause again until 1951. No surprise, it was then put on pause again, this time for a whopping 60 years. Then in 2012, it was announced that Johnny Depp would produce a modern reimagining of the story. It was, no surprise, put on pause, and in 2016 it was said that Disney was moving forward with the project without Depp. It's been more than 80 years and we still haven't seen Disney's Don Quixote. But after an origin story like this, we want to see this movie just on principle. Number 10. Uncle Stiltskin. In 2003, Disney bought the rights to this story, which follows Uncle Stiltskin as he attempts to lure in a child by spinning straw into gold. He ends up luring in an orphan who was raised by wolves. Pretty bizarre premise, and we can't say we're not intrigued. It seems, however, that the movie fell to the wayside in favor of now classics Tangled and Princess and the Frog. Number 11. Morgan's Ghost would have followed some classic characters in a new story. The movie, which was in production between 1939 and 1941, followed Mickey, Donald Duck, and Goofy as they ran an inn when late one night a parrot pirate named Yellowbeak came in. The movie never actually came to fruition, but it was ultimately revamped, and in 1942 the storyboards were made into a comic book called Donald Duck Finds Pirate Gold. Number 12. Calling all the Nightmare Before Christmas fans, you're gonna want to hear about the Shadow King. Director Henry Selick is behind some of our quirky stop-motion favorites like The Nightmare Before Christmas, James and the Giant Peach, and Coraline. The Shadow King definitely would have fit in with these other movies. It followed Hap, a young orphan who meets a shadow girl who teaches him how to make shadow puppets that actually come to life. Sounds pretty cool, but Disney pulled the plug on the Shadow King ahead of its planned 2013 release when the movie was behind on its production goals. Number 13. If you love Disney movies that are based on fairy tales, you would have loved Tam Lin. Tam Lin is considered Scotland's first fairy tale, and it was at one time going to be a Disney classic. The fairy tale is about a man named Tam Lin, whose true love saves him from the evil queen of the fairies. Writer and director of Aladdin and The Lion King, Roger Allers, was behind the project, but allegedly some drama with Disney was the movie's downfall. Number 14. Fraidy Cat would have been about, well, a Fraidy Cat. This movie, which Disney animation directors Ron Clements and John Musker started working on in 2004, was referred to as a cartoon film noir thriller, which, we'll admit, sounds interesting. It was intended to be an Alfred Hitchcock satire, which follows a scaredy cat as he was pulled from the comforts of his couch and falsely accused of a crime. In 2005, the project was canceled. Number 15. Wildlife was said to be Disney's first entirely CG animated non-Pixar film. An adaptation of George Bernard Shaw's Pygmalion, the movie was set in a nightclub following the singer Kitty Glitter. When the movie was canceled, though, Chicken Little became the first CG non-Pixar movie. Number 16. Besides being a great title, A Few Good Ghosts was almost a one-half CGI, one-half traditionally animated Disney movie. This movie was about 3 children and a ghost on their quest to unite an Appalachian couple. Don't worry, we don't really understand this plot either, and we probably never will, considering that in 2003 the project was canceled. The then president of animation, David Staten, said despite the best efforts of the crew, the fundamental idea was not working. Sounds like they didn't get what it was about either. Number 17. Catfish Bend was based on the book series of the same name by Ben Lucien Berman. The first book is about a group of animals taking over a Mississippi flood control problem from humans. Disney got the rights to the book, but they ended up ditching the project. Number 18. In another case of novel-turned-Disney movie-turned-canceled Disney movie, we have Mort. This film was based on Terry Pratchett's fantasy novel, which follows Death. Yes, Death. Death takes in a young boy named Mort and teaches him how to collect souls. In 2010, the movie was allegedly in development, and in 2016, concept art was made public. The project didn't make it, though. Number 19. Not to be confused with Princess and the Frog, it's The Prince and the Pig. The movie was about a little boy and his pet pig as they attempted to steal the moon. In 2003, they got the rights from Rian Johnson, but ultimately scrapped the idea. Number 20. Chanticleer would have been based on a story about a rooster who thinks his crow causes the sun to rise. The story was written by Edmond Rostand, the author of Cyrano de Bergerac. Never saw the light of day, though. Crow or no crow. Which canceled Disney movie do you wish they would make the most? Tell us all about it in the comments. And if you love videos like this one, you better like and subscribe to The Things Animated so you don't miss any of our videos about your animated favorites.